In this video, I want to break down 5 different ways that I make money on a majority of my investment properties. Now, you may have heard of a few of these strategies. However, a few of these, it took me many years of investing in real estate and growing portfolios across multiple states in order to really dial in. And this is the way that you can exhaust not only your earnings, but as well as your savings when it comes to becoming a real estate investor. So first and foremost, I want to break down a strategy that you may or may have not heard called the BRRRR strategy, right? And that's going to be BRRR. And B stands for buy, R stands for rehab, the second R stands for rent, and the third R stands for refi or refinance. Now, you may or may have not have heard of this BRRRR. This is a very common strategy and a very profitable one. Basically, you are buying undervalued assets, okay? And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna go ahead and rehab them through forced appreciation. You'll be able to rent them at a higher rate and you'll be able to refinance the property, which means you'll be able to pull out the equity that you've built through stabilization, which is actually doing the work and then renting it. But we're gonna take it a step further and I'm gonna break down my 5 steps that we're doing right now, literally across the US, and it's working tremendously well. Number 1 is gonna be construction. Now, there's 2 different ways that you can run construction on your properties. Let's say you go and buy a property, whether it's a duplex or a single family home. You're gonna wanna do the rehab. You're gonna wanna make sure that it's up to living standards. You're gonna wanna make sure that it can pass occupancy, which means that it's safe. It has carbon monoxide detectors, CO2 detectors, and you're gonna wanna do the basic touch-ups to make sure that you can hit your appraisal. So what we're currently doing in a majority of ours, what we call our turnkeys, is we're doing paint. We're doing all of the mechanical checks to make sure all the mechanicals work. That's HVAC, plumbing, and electrical. We're doing carbon monoxide detectors, CO2 detectors. We're making sure that everything is clean, all the appliances work, that there's door stops, so on and so forth. A lot of basic stuff, right? Now, there's 2 different ways that you can do this. You can go and find a general contractor who you're going to pay, and then they have their team do it. This is the most expensive way to do it. However, you are the least involved. However, if you are willing to be a little bit more involved or you have a team that you can delegate this task to, you can act as a GC yourself, a general contractor, by going and finding these different workers to do the work for you. And I know it sounds super difficult. However, all you literally need to do is go to Facebook, and you can go to the Facebook groups in the area that you're investing in and literally look for all of the groups where all of the contractors are, and you can show pictures or videos of the work and break down what needs to be done. Now, I recommend you getting 3 to 5 bids and you looking at a few different things: referrals, past history of work that they've done, and then obviously you're gonna look at the price, right? Now, these are the 3 things that we look at, and by doing this and by GCing that construction, you can save thousands and thousands of dollars. Literally, zero exaggeration, we are usually at about half of what the GC quotes, because obviously there's inflation on materials and there's also inflation on their GC price. So $1 saved is $1 earned when it comes to that whole aspect. And a few different things that you can do is, number 1, you want to make sure that you furnish all the materials for the contractors. We like to use Home Depot and Lowe's cards because there is incentives, as well as they have a text to pay system, which means the contractor can literally go to these big box stores, can go pick everything that they need for the job, and then when they get to the checkout, you'll be able to see everything on the app, and then you'll have to approve it and pay for it, and you can say, no, take this off, or no, I'm not paying for the Cheetos and coffee you have there, so on and so forth. So we're typically making anywhere between 30 to 50% minimum on the construction alone. Number 2 is going to be rent. Now, there's 2 different ways that you can rent, and previously, the previous 5 years that I've been investing, majority of our properties, we have almost, at one point we had 60, we've dialed back a little bit, we're right in the 50 ballpark range of units in Midwest, right outside Chicago, and those are all multi-single family homes. So 2 to 4 bedroom multi-family units. We do have a few 5s and an 8. So we have several commercial in that area. However, a majority of them are residential multis. So when I was getting started, I always rented to what's called market rate tenants. These are just regular retail tenants that need a place to live. Recently, what we've been doing is we've been transitioning in our new portfolios in different areas in the Midwest to what's called Section 8. Now, Section 8 is where you partner with the government for essentially guaranteed rents, because you have the tenants who have a small copay, which is around 10 to 15% of the rent, and the government is going to give you the rest on the 1st or the 15th every single month. And I used to have this negative notion around Section 8 tenants that they're gonna be bad tenants, they're gonna mess my stuff up. However, it's been the complete opposite. The market rate tenants are the ones leaving, they're messing the place up, they're not paying rent, and rent is actually less than what the FMR or fair market rent is. So we are transitioning to a majority of Section 8 rent. Now here I'm actually gonna show you a real life example of one of my properties. It's a duplex. One unit is a 2-bedroom, one unit is a 1-bedroom, and we have went through the process of doing construction to turn it over. We are now in the tenant placement stage where we are looking for Section 8 tenants. So here, if you're looking at this FMR rate, you can see from 2023 to 2024 for a 2-bedroom, the rent has went from $936 to $1016. So it's jumped almost $100. And the 1-bedrooms have went from $750 to $823. So again, about $75 to $85 increase year after year. So every additional dollar that you make every single year when they increase the FMR goes directly to your bottom line. And I didn't know this as a landlord and investor. There's no real guide. No one tells you that the FMR exists and that every single month throughout the country, rents are being increased. And what happens is I purchased the majority of my properties one by one, and a few small portfolios from other retired investors or investors that were getting out of the game. And what happens is they got them from someone else, they never raised the rents, and then I got them and then never raised the rents. And then what happens is you have these tenants that are 3 years, 5 years, 10 years in, and they're paying 30%, 50%, sometimes even 100% less than what the traditional FMR is. And the FMR is set by the actual government. So you can go to Google and you can type in FMR or fair market rents, followed by the area that you are investing in to find the chart. Make sure that is from the government's website. So on the rent, we are actually making money off of the rent. This is cash flow every single month. And to break down what that looks like, I'll go ahead and map this out for you. So let me go ahead and change the color of this marker. So the mortgage on this is going to be $790 with 26 cents. The insurance is going to be $83 with 67 cents. The taxes are going to be $140 with 41 cents. And then property management, what we pay a property manager to manage the tenants, manage the property, manage the maintenance, so on and so forth. Currently on this portfolio, we're paying 10%, which is a bit high. However, they have a few incentives. On other portfolios and properties in different areas, we are paying as low as 5%. So one tip I'll give you with property managers is I would rather find the sweet spot where it's not the 3 to 5%, but it's not the 10%, somewhere in the middle, but make sure that they are investor friendly, that they have properties themselves, that they have a few hundred that they're managing, that they have experience, and make sure you do your due diligence to talk to some other investors that they're managing for to make sure that they meet your expectations. Property management fee on this property is coming to around $160. So that total is $1,174.34. Now, when it comes to the 2-unit, it's one bed and one 2-bed. Now we can see on the FMR that the 1-bed is going for $823 and the 2-bed is actually gonna go for $1016. So the total rent is $1839. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and subtract the expenses from the gross income to get a total of $665. This is going to be your net income. So this duplex is going to net $665 every single month after paying all of the expenses, which is mortgage, insurance, taxes, and property management. Now there will be some maintenance, some CapEx, so on and so forth. However, just based off of the standard numbers, on the average, it's gonna be $665. Number 3 is going to be the refinance or refi. Now I'm gonna be honest, when I first got started in 2016-17 with real estate, for some of you guys that are not new to the channel and have been following my journey, you guys know that I made a majority of my money in e-commerce with Amazon. I have a saying that Amazon will make you rich, real estate will keep you rich. I was making a ton of money fast with Amazon and I didn't want it sitting in the bank. So I was making the foolish mistake of buying all the properties cash, thinking that I was doing the right thing by not having a note and cash flowing, so on and so forth. And the greatest expense in life is what you do not know. Because yes, you know, being in my 20s, having nearly 100 properties is impressive. However, if I would have known about leverage and utilizing OPM or other people's money, I would have 10x that, and I would have had probably 1,000 units because of leverage. And instead of putting 100% down, I could have used 15 to 20% down, went through this process that I'm teaching you guys, and flipped the money multiple times and extracted it out tax-free, which I'm gonna show you how to do in this refi. Now, through the forced depreciation, we purchased the property, we did construction, we stabilized it by placing a tenant. Now, when we go to a bank and we refinance the property, what we're gonna do is say, hey, I want to pull out as much equity from this property as possible. So, rule of thumb is 75% on single family homes or multi-single family dwellings. And multi-single family dwellings are going to be 1 to 4 units. Single family homes are 1 or just a standard house, right? So 75% of the ARV, which stands for after rehab value, okay? Now, if you're dealing with commercial, you guys know I have a few 5-unit buildings and I have an 8-unit building. If you're dealing with commercial, it's going to be 70%. But the sweet spot for us is this right here, the 75%. And the single family homes as well as multi-single families. That's been our bread and butter. So how does that work? I'm gonna go ahead and give you a real life example. Here you can see this is a property that we purchased. So here you can see is an example of a duplex right here, which I bought in 2022 for $80,000 at roughly $40,000 per door, okay? Now here, if you scroll down, you can see that the estimated value is $102,800. I feel that the value is around $110,000 because I've recently sold a duplex for $110,000. So I can get a comp from that. However, we're just gonna be conservative and run it at $102,000. If we purchase the property for $80,000 and then we go ahead and put $6,000 into the property, and that $6,000 is gonna be $3,000 per unit for paint and all of the miscellaneous stuff that we talked about. We're not fully gutting these properties, we're just making them clean and making them safe. We're at $86,000. So if you go ahead and take 75% of $102,000, that gives us $76,500, and we still have 25% equity in the property, and the property is going to actually cash flow itself every single month after we pay the mortgage, all the fees, so on and so forth. So we have about $9,500 locked in this property, okay? We have about $9,500 locked in this property, and at $665 per month in cash flow, if we go ahead and take 9,500 divided by 665. Now, if we take 9,500 divided by 665, it's gonna take a little over a year to recoup all of that money back. 14 months, we get all of our money back, we have no money in the deal, and the property is cash flowing, okay? Now, this is not ideal, even though this is still sweet, because after a little bit over a year, the property is free and clear. What we're doing now is we are running things at 65% of ARV. If you come back up here and you look at this 75% ARV, if our construction plus acquisition can be 75% of the ARV or after rehab value, that means that on the refi, we will get all of our money back and we will have no money in the property and we will be cash flowing every single month. So I'll break that scenario down really quick so you guys can see it. If the property's ARV is $100,000 and we buy the property, just nice round numbers, for $50K, and we put $25,000 in construction, nice round numbers, we're at $75,000 or 75% ARV of the $100,000. So that means after we purchase the property, we do the construction, we stabilize it by placing a tenant, and then we refi, typically this takes around 120 days, we are going to be free and clear and have no money in this property and then be cash flowing every single month. And you have to understand, on this $25,000 during construction, if you are your own GC and you do what we talked about, you are making all of that money as well. Number 4 is gonna be savings on taxes. Now, we just talked about the refi. Whenever you refi, step number 4, whenever you refi, the money that you make on the refi, it's actually through a loan, so you don't pay capital gains taxes on that. Now, the savings on taxes, if you have another business like I do, or you have any other source of income, you're gonna be able to offset your taxes through forced depreciation as well as other tax savings. Now, I'm not a CPA and you wanna consult a CPA or an accountant in your area based off of how you're investing in real estate, what your other businesses are doing, so on and so forth. However, I will tell you this, real estate is multimillionaires, millionaires, and billionaires' favorite tool of choice when it comes to reduction of taxes legally and ethically. Now, far from lease is number 5, which is appreciation. Now, we talked about the refi stage. And as you can see, going back to this picture here, you can see in the 2 years, we acquired this property in 2022, and in 2 years, it's went up $22,000, almost $23,000 in value, which means that it's going up about $11,500 per year in value. So every 3 to 5 years, if you're amassing $50,000 to $100,000 in equity, you can do new refis and continue to do refis and pull out all that money tax-free. It's absolutely free. The number one thing you want to make sure is the more the refis and the more the equity you pull out, the higher the mortgage, the lower the cash flow. So that's the only thing you have to think about is the more money you pull out, the less the cash flow. So you want to make sure that you're looking at that pendulum and you're trying to make it even where you can pull out the money and you can still have the cash flow. Some people prefer to have less cash flow and pull out more money, pull out less money and have higher cash flow. You have to make sure that you are doing your budgeting, your planning, and that it meets your criteria. So there you have it, guys. 5 ways that I'm making money right now with my real estate across the United States. This is a new video for the channel. Primarily everything here is entrepreneurship, e-commerce, branding, digital marketing, Amazon, so on and so forth. However, I've been in real estate nearly a decade. It is a passion of mine, something I love, and it's something I'm gonna retire doing. So if you want more information on what I'm doing with real estate and how you can get started with real estate, let me know down in the comments, because this is gonna be a video that I use as a determining factor to see if we should put more content like this on the channel. As you guys know, my number 1 goal is to help you increase your income, impact, and influence. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel by hitting that subscribe button. You smash that like button so the algorithm knows we're actually giving value and not fluff, and I will see you in the next video.